everyone! This video today is addressed to people with coprolalia. Now, for those who don't know, coprolalia is what's known as the swearing tic, or it can include obscene and socially inappropriate tics that are verbal. And coprolalia is what's often portrayed in the media as Tourette's itself. However, not everyone with Tourette's has coprolalia. Because the media portrays it so much as coprolalia, a lot of people in the Tourette's community have sort of advocated saying this isn't what Tourette's is, this isn't what Tourette's is, this isn't what Tourette's is, which is good because it stops people thinking that it is all about swearing, because it's not. But sometimes this can actually make people with coprolalia feel a bit more like they're an outcast or something. It can make people with coprolalia feel quite isolated. So I want people to know, if you don't have coprolalia, first of all, that coprolalia can be socially isolating. It is not a choice. It is not something people want to do. It can make people really worry about going outside in public because they don't know how others are going to react. So, in the media or in TV shows, when it's presented as, oh, this is funny, it's actually not. So I think that's really important for people to know whether they have coprolalia or not. I mean, if you already have coprolalia, you probably already know that. But I wanted to share that first of all. And for those who do have coprolalia, I want you to know that it's not your fault. That's really important because some people might feel like they're a bad person for having coprolalia. People might think that they need to control themselves better, but really you don't, because it's involuntary and it's just like any other tic. It is unintentional and has no meaning behind it. It just happens to be something that is deemed socially inappropriate by others, therefore it can lead to reactions from others. And if some people do feel really anxious about going out when they have coprolalia, so I want people to know that there are ways to deal with this, ways to manage this. First of all, other people's reactions and other people's ignorance is a reflection of them and not you. Coprolalia does not make you a problem in any way, shape or form. And it can sometimes help to have a card to show people, to explain your condition, and even rehearsing certain things that you can say to people if anyone asks questions or makes comments or makes accusations of any kind. Some people may worry that their coprolalia is like a hidden aspect of their personality, like they're secretly bad or something. They may feel like it's a subconscious thing that's coming out, but really it's not. The coprolalia does not mean anything about your character. It does not mean you're a bad person in any way. It just happens to be that that's the tic that you developed, or those are the tics that you've developed if you have lots of coprolalia. A lot of people do have lots of different coprolalia tics if they have coprolalia. But I want people to know that you are not alone. Even though it's said to be a smaller percentage of people in the community who have coprolalia, you are not the only one. There are loads of people out there who have really loud and extreme coprolalia, and it's nothing to do with your character. It really does not come from your subconscious beliefs or anything like that. It is more that your brain kind of wants to mortify you. Often the coprolalia is what you least want to say. It's the last thing you would want to say. A bit like an intrusive thought is what you don't want to think. And you can't help an intrusive thought. It's kind of similar to that with coprolalia. It's the last thing you'd want to say comes out involuntarily. So you're not a bad person, and you don't need to suppress your tics. Of course, sometimes with coprolalia, it can be difficult not to suppress, but in general, maybe if you're just like in a classroom or something, I want you to be able to advocate for yourself. And if you have coprolalia tics and people tell you off for it, say you can't help it because you can't, and it really isn't your fault. And it's really important to advocate for yourself, because you don't have to feel like you have to suppress if it's not harming anyone at all. You don't have to hold it in to the detriment of your own well-being, and holding it in can just be really uncomfortable. It seems that in the Tourette's community, some people may kind of really worry about developing coprolalia, or parents may worry that their kids develop coprolalia. But it's important to know that coprolalia isn't the end of the world. You can live a happy and successful life if you have coprolalia. It's just another symptom that some people may experience, and people cannot control whether they get this symptom or not. I know it can be isolating at times, but you don't have to completely, throw your life away and not go out in public and not live your life because you have coprolalia. You can still go out and everything, and if anyone has a problem with it, then see if you can advocate for yourself and know that it doesn't mean anything about you, because you can't help this. This is a neurological symptom and you are just living your life like everyone else, and you have the right to do that. You never need to feel guilty for having coprolalia, as it's not a choice, and it's definitely not something you need to blame yourself for in any way, shape or form. Whether you have coprolalia or not, you are welcome in the community. Sometimes people feel really isolated if they haven't met others with coprolalia, so I think it can really help to speak to others either online or at support groups if they have others with coprolalia there, and share your experiences, because that can really help you feel less alone. Coprolalia is a symptom and not a choice, and doesn't mean anything about you as a person. If someone does get upset by your coprolalia, then, you know, if it's a genuine upset and not them trying to blame you or tell you off or anything, if someone is genuinely upset by your coprolalia, then rather than defending yourself like you would if someone's telling you off or accusing you of things, I think it is more important in those cases to actually be really empathetic and be there for the person. And although you know you can't help it and it's not your fault and it doesn't mean anything to them, they still have a reaction to it. So it is important to be understanding of people if they are upset by your coprolalia. I've made people cry with my coprolalia before, so it is really important to, you know, be there for people, and hopefully together you can kind of comfort them and tell them that you really don't mean it. It doesn't mean anything about them, it's just what happens to come out, and it's not what you really think of them, and you really don't mean it. So just, you know, if people are upset by it, make sure that they're okay, but know that it has nothing to do with you, because you can't help what you come out with. Sometimes you don't even know what you're about to come out with. So, you know, you're not a bad person, and it doesn't mean that you shouldn't be around people. I mean, of course, you never want to upset people, but it's about, you know, still living your life and everything in a way that works for you. But as well, just if people are upset, then comfort them. I mean, that can be what's really worrying for people. They don't want to upset people, because so it can be difficult to find the balance. I think it's just important to educate those around you who you come into contact with often that you can't help it, and that if you tick anything about them, they don't need to take it personally. Sometimes that could be easier said than done, but people do tend to get used to it over time. And if you're in public, then just go about your daily life as you would if you didn't have coprolalia, and, you know, deal with issues as they arise. I would say know that you can't help this, and you are not a bad person, and you're not lesser than others in any way, shape or form.